everybody wants to have certain things that people, remember you for or think of you. And I think really just that, I always tried to do the right thing. I didn't always do the right thing, but I always tried to. And, and thought about decisions that I made and how I raised my kids and the decisions I made with them and in business and those type of things. So I think that's really, I thought about things. I didn't just react, and, I never really had a temper. Although in golf I might have had a little temper here and there, but, raising my kids or in business in particular.
Hi, my name is Tim Wright, and I'm a good friend of Matt's, and I want to thank you for coming here today to honor Matt's life. When Jane asked me to say a few words today, I was more than honored. Over the years, I've relied on video in business, coaching, and in my personal life, so I thought, why not use video to convey my thoughts about Matt? One of the biggest challenges I've faced in a very long time is attempting to whittle down these thoughts about Matt for this memorial. I thought the world of Matt. I could talk about Matt for hours. So the task is really an impossible one, but since my time is limited, I'm going to do my best. When I'm finished today, I'm also going to share a few clips that you're really going to like from a video biography that I produced on Matt's life back in 2018. I started a video production company that specialized in individuals telling their life story so they could pass along life lessons, stories, and family history, creating a true legacy for generations to come. I asked Matt to be our very first customer. He didn't even hesitate. He loved the idea and was eager to tell his story. Well, as you all know, Matt was an amazing storyteller. So of course, he knocked it out of the park when telling his own story. Who would have known that we'd be reflecting back on Matt's life just 4 short years after we filmed his life story? It's a reminder of how precious life really is. But it's so grateful that Matt agreed to do it, because now his incredible story will last forever. As I mentioned, I'm going to share a few of these moments following my comments. I wanted to film this video sitting in Matt's chair in his office because it reminds me of the countless hours we sat and talked, laughed, and discussed all things baseball. It all seems right to come back where it all started just 10 years ago. Even though Matt and I worked together outside of DBAT, it was definitely our mutual love for baseball that became the foundation of our incredible friendship. Matt coached juniors teams for years at a very high level, and I became one of the beneficiaries of all this knowledge that he had gathered over the years. When it came to coaching baseball, Matt was my mentor. He was my sounding board, and he was my coach. And I know for a fact that without his influence, I wouldn't have coached youth baseball for 11 years. Matt was an amazing coach, and he impacted the lives of so many people around him, whether it was a player wanting to improve his swing or a parent seeking some baseball advice. He always made time for others. He was beyond generous, financially scholarshiping kids who loved the game yet couldn't afford to play. The players on my teams over the years loved Coach Matt. They looked at him as a mentor, a coach, and to some, a father figure. DBAT was their home away from home, and Matt and Jane always made it a warm and special place to enter into. Matt didn't just know baseball. He was a really smart guy that knew a lot about a lot of things. His knowledge of finance and investing, sports, food, politics, cars, raising kids, and many other topics was impressive, to say the least. Yet he was never boastful. He was convicted in his beliefs, but was always humble in his thoughtful approach, and was a deeply caring man. If he disagreed with you, he never made you feel bad. He treated everyone in his life with respect. He was such a likable guy. Matt was a great listener, as true friends are, and I could always count on him to be there for me. If it was 10 o'clock at night and I had a random thought, which I often do, I could pick up the phone and he'd always answer it, and he'd spend as much time as I needed to bend his ear. That was Matt. He was a true giver of himself, of his time, and his knowledge. He put everyone's priorities in front of his. That's how Matt rolled, and that's what I loved about him. Matt's sense of humor was truly one of a kind. You loved his wit, but the key ingredient to his humor was clearly sarcasm. We've all witnessed it. It's top shelf, AAA rated sarcasm. So good that some people never got it. Some people didn't know how to take Matt. Is he being serious? Is he just kidding around? He kept people on their toes, and so many laughs came from those moments. Matt loved going out to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't even think Matt knew how to cook. If he did, he never talked about it. There was a crazy irony when it came to Matt and restaurants. He loved eating out, but hated most restaurants in town. So when Stephen, Ron, Matt, and I would head to lunch, which probably happened over 100 times, there were only 4 choices in all of Southlake for Matt. Salada, his least favorite, but that did make the cut. Fuzzies, that worked until Stephen found a cockroach in his burrito. Choloso, and he only went there because that was my favorite. But number 1 by far, and most of you know this, was Duff's Wings. This was Matt's go-to restaurant. In fact, Jane recently told me that he ate there 4 times in 1 week. He loved this place. Matt rarely strayed from his usual, which was the wings with medium sauce, 2 ranches, and a bowl of extra crispy, extra hot fries, topped with an ice-cold beverage. One of the main reasons I loved going to Duff's was to watch Matt's reaction sitting at that table, because inevitably 80% of the time, something went wrong. He didn't get his second ranch, his drink would be empty for more than 5 minutes, or my favorite was when the fries weren't piping hot when they arrived at the table. He'd send those cold fries right back to the kitchen. Then the bill would come, and there was always this great mystery how wings, fries, and a beer could cost $32. The sarcastic passive-aggressive mode that Matt would go into when dealing with all this was some of the best entertainment in town. Even with all this going on, he looked beyond it, and Duff's continued to be his favorite. Well, we know what his real favorite was, Kirby's, where he was Norm, and everyone knew his name. There were a number of Mattisms that he graced us with, but my favorite had to be when he heard something that he just didn't believe. He would say, wait, so you're telling me, and then he would repeat the exact statement he just heard. It was pure gold. So many more, but I'm going to move on and share 2 quick life lessons that Matt taught me that I hope can benefit all of you. We were in business together for a number of years, and whenever something would go wrong in our business, my tendency was to go to the darkest place first. After receiving some really bad news one day, Matt walked into my office, listened to my worst case scenario, and said, "Tim, I'm going to share with you something Jack told me when I was having a bad day on the golf course. And if you don't know, Jack was Matt's dad that he loves so much." He looked at me and said, "It's never as bad as you think and never as good as you hope for." Matt had a way with words. He had great timing, knowing the right thing to say when you needed to hear it. I was reminded of Jack's quote many times after that day because every time my computer went into sleep mode, the quote stared at me as my screensaver. He also taught me that perfection is the enemy of good enough. He was incredibly perceptive and had a strong dose of impatience. And when I took valuable time to make something look perfect, he would remind me of this quote. To this day, when I'm working on something and I'm going overboard, I can hear Matt whisper, "It's good enough, Tim. Move on." I admired Matt for so many reasons, too many to share today, but one standout was his love for his children. In the countless hours I spent here at DBAT with my teams or with my sons, I heard Matt and Matt Jr. say, "I love you," to each other as either one left the building countless times. As a father-son relationship ages, sadly, those are words that are said less and less and are rarely said to each other in public. Matt loved his family so much, and I know he's told them enough to last all of their lifetimes. To Jane, Allie, Matt, and Morgan, you knew him the best and you loved him the most. My heart breaks for all of you, and I know God took this great man earlier than any of us would have expected. But I hope you find comfort in knowing he's looking down upon you right now from the heaven above, smiling, pain-free, with great pride. On earth, his job is complete as he passes the torch on to each of you, knowing his legacy will be carried on for generations to come. As I finish talking about Matt the Great, allow me to share one more quick story. A few years back, Matt and Jane moved to a nearby neighborhood, and when Matt would drive home from work, he'd drive down the street we live on and honk his horn as he passed our house each day. A lot of times I'd hear the honk and I'd send him a quick message asking how his day was, or I'd just smile knowing it was Matt. About a week ago, someone drove by our house and honked their horn. I jumped out of my chair and went to the window, but the car was gone. I knew it wasn't Matt, but I wished it was. We all wish we could have one more minute, one more laugh, one more honk with Matt. But I had to remind myself that every minute, every laugh, and every honk I had with Matt was an awesome one. I'll miss you, my friend. So what is the one moment in your life that you could, if you could go back and relive, you would do it?
I don't think I would. I don't think I'd relive anything. I think part of what I am today and who I am, who my kids are, is all an accumulation of the mistakes, the good things. So I don't have any regrets. I mean, would I do some things maybe a little different, make some different decisions? Sure, but for the most part, any decision that you make that you would go back and change changes everything else going forward. And I don't think I'd want to change that. So
I know that you're a man of God and you've had a relationship with God for many years. What do you think heaven's like?
Well, I've asked my mom and dad about that a bunch. They've yet to tell me.
They haven't told you? Haven't gotten back to you yet?
I think heaven's it's a spiritual thing. I mean, I don't know that there's clouds and angels and those types of things. I think it's more of a peace within yourself that you've lived the right life and tried to do the right things, and you believe in God and Jesus Christ, and I think it's more of a spiritual thing. I don't think of it as a physical thing. I think it's a peace that you have because of that. My dad was always, he never met a stranger. Just didn't remember names real well, but everybody loved him, and he kind of passed. I think that's one of the things I may have inherited from him, and or hopefully. And
nervous about raising children when the children came? Were you excited? How did you feel?
I would say, you're obviously a little nervous, but I was more excited. Just to have kids and try to teach them all the things that I didn't have growing up, and opportunities for them. And but they were all great kids and still are. I mean, we're blessed in that respect.
Yeah.
I would say with Allie is she's really smart. He was just really good athlete and just worked hard and was driven, and then Morgan just heart of gold, and she's very talented when it comes to singing and dancing and performing. And just in talking to her, I was probably in the jewelry store, went in for a 2-minute purchase and ended up probably staying an hour and just catching up on all the different stuff, because we'd always known each other, and it was just kind of a nice friendly face when you come back to town, and so yeah, we just hit it off immediately again, and just it was great.
How do you want to be remembered?
That's everybody wants to have certain things that people remember you for, or think of you, and I think really just that I always tried to do the right thing. I didn't always do the right thing, but I always tried to, and and thought about decisions that I made and how I raised my kids and the decisions I made with them and in business and those type of things. So I think that's really, I thought about things. I didn't just react, and